Warning, due to some language and subject matter, listener discretion is advised.
So my next guest is somebody I have been excited to get on the show for a long time now. Coincidentally or not, he's also a hometown boy from Omaha, Nebraska. In a recent interview, I heard a quote where he said, "I stopped trying, now I'm just doing." That is a mindset that you cannot find anywhere else but here in the heart of the Midwest. A lightweight fighter with 23 wins, 11 losses, and 1 no contest, Drew Dober is joining me on the show today. And I tell you what, this guy looks like he could get cast in the next Marvel movie. So fight fans, let's go! Ladies and gentlemen, this is Caught on the Mic. Drew Dober, Omaha's own, by way of Denver, Colorado, Elevation Fight Team, UFC lightweight 155. Brother, I don't care about any of that stuff. I'm just glad to be talking with you.
I mean, I'm glad to talk to somebody that's from Omaha, Nebraska, man. I carry Omaha, in my heart and on my shoulders when I fight. So it's always great to talk to local people.
So are you kind of sharing dual citizenship between Denver and Omaha, or are you just strictly in Denver now?
I feel like future's in Colorado, my past is in Nebraska, my mind's in Colorado, my heart's in Nebraska. So yeah, and then it's one of the same, to be honest.
Let's talk a little bit about your origin story, how you got into MMA, how you got into martial arts in general.
Well, my easy answer is I can't run, jump, or catch a ball. So my options are limited. No, when I was at a single digit age, like 5, 6, 7, I loved the Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. And that just evolved into me enjoying Dragon Ball Z or Japanese anime. And so I just had a love for fighting or martial arts and that kind of stuff. So at the age of 13 years old, and I decided to check out some martial arts. And so I was lucky enough to find a school that taught mixed martial arts. So I joined martial arts when I was 13 years old, and I just fell in love and didn't quit. One thing led to another, and I started learning more, and I decided I wanted to give it a shot.
So looking at your bio, you started off with Muay Thai, right?
Yeah. I mean, technically, I started off with Taekwondo,
sure.
Striking, and then, went from traditional martial arts to actual functional martial arts, which is Muay Thai. And so man, I love the whole striking. You
said you're a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. So I have to assume that if you're ever playing UFC 4, it's strictly in Kumite mode, right?
Absolutely.
My son and I are the same way, man. We won't play that game in anything other than Kumite mode, and he's into Taekwondo right now himself. So if you feel comfortable saying, where did you go to school for martial arts in Omaha?
So originally, Taekwondo, and where I started off, it was Millard Black Belt Academy. Sure. And no longer around. And so then when I decided to strictly focus on mixed martial arts, I moved to it's a Mid-America Martial Arts. It's up on 144th and Giles.
Yep, I'm familiar with that area. I used to live right off that area. So did you ever spend any time out at Chalco Hills or that lake area over there?
Yeah, there's a hill up there. That was when I was preparing for a fight. This hill in particular was the thing that got me ready for it. I was sprinting up it, and it was painful. So I don't have positive memories. All I have is just exhausted, negative memories in that place.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. When I lived in Omaha, that used to be my favorite place. That was my sanctuary. That was my place to go for a run, because I think the whole trail around the lake is 7.62 miles. So I would just throw in the headphones and go for a jog until I killed myself,
Well, see, that sounds pleasant. I found a walked incline that was I was either going to throw up or pass out. And so,
speaking of inclines, being that you're in Colorado now, do you spend a lot of time, no pun intended, but doing some elevation type training in Colorado?
I think just being up at elevation is kind of just, good enough for me. What I tell everyone else is I'm from Nebraska and we don't walk up hills. So right. I find the escalator, but yeah. So I don't really do a whole lot of like the hiking or the speaking of the incline. But just training out here in Colorado or Denver, just being in elevation is good enough.
Every time we go out to the springs, and we go to Manitou Springs pretty regularly, and I always say on every trip, I'm like, man, I'm going to do that Manitou incline. And usually at about the 11th hour, I kind of puss out and don't do it.
Guy that's going to talk you into it. Like my teammates are like, oh, let's just do it on this weekend. I was like, oh, we just casually walk up some stairs. And it's not casual at all. And they started running. I was like taking breaks with all the elderly people. Like it took me 45 minutes to get up there. But yeah, stairs are just not my thing. I've
heard rumors that Bud Crawford, another Omaha, occasionally runs it on Sundays.
Yep. I've always kind of had in my mind, I was like, man, it'd be great if like him and I just like, got together and ran it ourselves. But man, the idea of running up those stairs, man, I'll just let him do that.
So getting back to the mixed martial arts aspect of it, when did you first sign with the UFC?
I officially signed with the UFC at the age of like 25, but I had a small stint on the reality show, The Ultimate Fighter, when I was like 23. But yeah, I signed with the UFC at 25.
One of my favorite quotes that I've heard from you in the last year was, I stopped trying, now I'm just doing. Can you explain the mindset behind that? Because I think that encompasses the entire career that you've had with mixed martial arts.
Yeah, I think, when you make your hobby into a job, it eventually starts turning into a job. Right. And so there was a lot of like pressure and expectation, and a lot of it I was putting on myself with my perfectionism. Like I had to, it's like you force yourself. And it got really like nitty and gritty, and like when people like hustle and grind, and like it all sounds so painful, and it felt painful. And then I just talked to a mental coach, and we're kind of just talking like, how do I view a champion, and when did I display those attributes as a champion? And that's when I came up with the quote, the mind of a champion is the mind of a child. I was doing it as a teenager. And the reason I was doing it as a teenager, because this was just my hobby. I was just having fun. I didn't care about outcomes. And then when it became a job, it felt like a job. So I was like, you know what? I'm done like trying. No more have to's or I have to this or this and that. And so I was like, I'm just going back to just getting paid to do my hobby again. And then that's when I meant like I just stopped trying, and I'm just having fun at it again.
Sometimes I feel personally that when people from the Midwest, there's societal expectation that we go to school, we have a career, we get married, or we jump into a blue collar type career or trade. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but pursuing our dreams like music, acting, fighting, it isn't normal for people from the Midwest, or normal per their own mindset. How do you feel about that? Did it take getting out of Omaha to kind of push you to that next level?
No, I disagree. I understand what you just said. I mean, I was catching a lot of heat when I was telling people like, oh, I want to be a professional fighter. I want to pursue this. And they're like, what's your plan B? Like, is this not safe and this and that? I always abbreviate things into like little quotes that I can carry. And one is, success doesn't equal happiness. Happiness equals success. And so you got to like chase your heart, and like fighting, like I was just going to make it work, or at least enjoy the process. Growing up in the Midwest has taught me, is that grit, is that perfectionism, and is that high expectation. I feel like on the coast, guys, like if it wasn't happening, they had their plan B, but Nebraska taught me how to like, that grit, I get up, I run, I work, I push hard. And like, if I want to turn this hobby into a career, the Midwest taught me how to make it a career,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad you answered like that, because that was kind of a trap question, if you want to know the honest to God truth. So when was the moment in life that you knew that you wanted to flip that switch, and this was no longer going to be a hobby, that this was your dream, this was your passion, this was your goal?
I think the moment when I caught the nation's attention, and I earned the week. It was like a week training at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I got like the attention of like not only like a magazine, but a world-renowned gym, and I get to go out there and train with these guys, the best in the world. And I went out there and I trained, and I didn't do half bad. I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? Like, I'm here. I got the attention. I'm actually moving with these guys, UFC fighters and stuff like that. So like, I think I'm capable of this. And if I'm capable of it, all I got to do is just harness that, and just use it.
A little known fact that not everybody knows about you is you went to culinary school for a while too, didn't you?
I did. Man, I just fell in love with like cooking and preparing meals. And, obviously I had to do it for myself. And then it was led to like after fights, I wanted to cook that delicious stuff too. And I was already going to a community college taking my basics. And so I was like, Metro had a really good culinary program. So I was like, why not give that a shot? So I enrolled in some classes and I had a lot of fun doing it. But it turns out that if you want to be a chef, you can't do anything else. Like it's so like it consumes your entire life. So I backed off a bit and I just continued my studying at Barnes and Nobles.
So is cooking still a passion of yours?
Yeah, I love it. Anytime I get a chance, I'm cooking for myself. Actually, I just made some brisket a couple of days ago. Yeah. So, I mean, I absolutely love cooking. And so when I'm like in training, and I have a nutritionist in the couple weeks that I'm preparing, and she makes some incredible meals. So like I write them down. And I'm like, I'm totally going to make this when I'm done. And so when I'm done fighting, I go down that list and I start making these meals.
Absolutely. Do you find that it's harder to stay focused on a meal plan when you're not in fight camp because of your passion for food?
Yeah, I think being focused on a fight, and when I was doing it myself, all I was doing was scrambling eggs and grilling chicken, and it's just bland and painful. And at the end of the day, you don't feel like cooking because you're already tired. So like doing the nutritional thing for myself kind of just like killed that excitement for it. And I was like, man, I can't wait till after this fight and I can just do it myself. Yeah, but now since I have this nutritionist and she like makes me incredible meals during my camp, it is actually added to my excitement to like afterwards, I'm cooking like most of my dinners in my off season.
For sure. Cause guys, as we get a little bit older, we struggle with our metabolisms and making sure we're making the right culinary choices and what have you. And as they say, abs are made in the kitchen, not the gym, correct?
Absolutely. And it's kind of painful to admit because when I feel the worst, I look the best. But in the off season, we flip that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So what do you do for fun in your free time? If you're not prepping for a fight, you're not working out in the gym, what do you do?
If I'm able to, I travel as much as possible. And
Sure.
So after this last night, I was going to like Las Vegas, California. Before the pandemic, I was trying to go to like Europe and South America. So I love traveling, experiencing other cultures. And if we want to boil it down, it's music, wine, dancing, video games, books, movies. Fighting consumes my life a ton. And like, I don't think I ever walk away from fighting ever. Like even in my off season, I'm still training and I just got done, doing some workouts today. So like my love for the sport is still there. Outside of that, I just love experiencing new things.
Yeah. So what do you do for fun when you come back to Omaha?
Oh man, do I have time to have fun there? Yeah. It's like, I have friends, I have family, I have all the spots that, your go-to spots, with the downtown, the zoo, Village Point. Like there's so many things I want to like reminisce. And like, so you don't really experience new things, but there's so many people and so much love in Nebraska that it's like, I'm just consumed with just like hanging out and talking to people. It's actually quite exhausting when I'm in Omaha.
Yeah, because it really is about the people. I read an interesting fact not too long ago that because ConAgra was rooted in Omaha up until recently, that Omaha had more bars and restaurants per capita than any other city in the United States. And when you add the social element to it, the fact that everybody is so communal, it makes sense.
I mean, I'm carrying that Midwest feeling like here in Colorado. Like anytime I'm at the gym or I'm out and about or even on the coast, I'm having conversations with everyone. And then sometimes people look at me like, you got to talk to everyone. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm from Nebraska and we just like talking.
Right, man. Yeah. It's like you're driving down the road, like you're driving down Colfax and you're doing the farmer's wave to everybody and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Right. where you should acknowledge every eye contact you make, just like, oh, hey, and then they try to avoid you real quick.
Man, that's awesome. Every fighter has a great origin story that kind of fuels their why. What fuels your why? What is the ultimate thing or the ultimate chain of events that have happened in your life that has driven you to be as successful as you have been with your fighting career?
If we're getting deep on like my whys, I grew up, being raised by a single mother in not the most prestigious part of Millard. She currently lives on 38th and Ames, so she's right over by Bud's gym. So I feel like I carry the typical, like, the athlete story of, I want to make it not only for me, but I want to make it for my family and make it for like my friends. And it just, that's what drives me. That's the reason I don't quit. That's the reason that I persevere in that third round, just because, like, coming from Omaha, Nebraska, being raised by a single mother, like, I've never seen quit, and it was never inside of me. And so, like, my mind doesn't even know how to. Like, I just continue walking forward and keep on pushing through, like, difficult times. And blessed to my mother, like, she's the one that taught me that.
So what was high school like for you?
It was a confusing time. Like, I grew up with what I call, like, the delinquents. The ones that, so I went to Millard North, and, again, props to my mother who was able to put me in that school district, and I was being surrounded them. But it was a confusing time because the kids I grew up with didn't really have a whole bunch. And a lot of them got like addicted to substances at an early age. So I grew up with them, and then I went to high school at Millard North, which it's a pretty prestigious school. And so it was just a confusing time of, like, who do I hang out with, or who do I represent? What groups do I represent? And I think being around those kids kind of taught me how to be a caretaker, and also taught me maturity and responsibility at an early age. Because I mean, if I would have grabbed onto that, we all would have fallen, type of thing. But then, I think the turning point in my career was at 16 years old. I joined high school wrestling. And then that's when I saw the guys with the discipline and the work ethic, and these guys, they didn't like drink or smoke or do or party every weekend. And I was like, oh, that's new to me. And then after I got my ass kicked in one wrestling tournament, and then I was like, I need to make a change. And then I went home, and they were having a house party at my house, and I wasn't even there. And that's kind of when I was like, you know what, I need to start surrounding myself with like-minded friends. So that's when I made the adjustment, and I started introducing myself to, like, the guys on the wrestling team. And that's when I met the friends that I still carry today. And I think that was the turning point, junior year in high school, when I decided that my extracurricular activities need to reflect my goals.
I think that's also a Midwest thing too, not to circle back on an earlier part of the conversation, but I do think that work ethic is definitely something that signifies who we are as Nebraskans and who we are as Midwesterners.
Oh, I agree. I mean, Omaha alone has produced so many great fighters. And I think it's just that grit, that work ethic, and that, they may not be the most talented, but they won't quit, and they keep on, pushing through. And so, that's what I love telling everyone I'm from Nebraska, because I think it represents who I am. Yeah,
for sure, man. For sure, man. I love this. I love getting to talk to you and waxing like philosophical about this type of stuff. This is awesome. Recently, Joe Rogan said that Drew Dober is the most underrated fighter in the UFC. How did that comment make you feel?
I think Joe Rogan is a huge Drew Dober fan. I mean, but I think it's just the quality of my fights. I feel like I'm charismatic in my interviews. I put on a show every single time I'm in that octagon. And, the styles in which I win, it's what the UFC likes to see. Now, I just need to be more consistent. But, I still feel like I'm the dark horse in the division.
Yeah. So, speaking of your division, who's your pinnacle or goal opponent? Who do you have, rankings or nothing mattered? Who do you want to take on ultimately?
Conor McGregor. I mean, who doesn't, right? I want
that. you need red panty night as well, then, I take it.
Man, like I love that fight. And plus the amount of eyes on like a matchup like that. So
Right.
before my last fight, they had the Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier just weeks after. And I was like, man, like I would love to be a backup. I would love the opportunity to fight either Dustin or McGregor. Just because, I mean, the fight's going to be fun, but really it's the amount of eyes on that fight is what excites me the most.
You've fought in 2 different divisions, haven't you?
Yep. On my lazy times, I had to fight at 170.
Right. Do you feel more comfortable fighting at 170?
No, actually. I mean, I feel comfortable in the fact that I don't have to diet as hard or train as hard, and I can still make the weight. The only issue is I have the same engine powering a larger car now. And so I get exhausted at 170. So I think 55 kind of keeps me humble.
Yeah, for sure. And 155, man, that's a division that's just chock full of killers, man.
And that's why I like cutting the weight, right? Weight cutting is the worst part, but I'll do it because I want to be a part of that killer's row.
So if you're in the middle of a cut, do you ever get really cagey?
As in like hate life or...
Yeah, pretty much.
I just get really quiet. The smile and like the jolly personality kind of goes away a little bit, and then I'm more so just quiet and focused until that job is over, and then we get to have fun again. But yeah. The 2 hardest parts of fighting is the weight and the weight.
WEIGHT and WAIT, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. What other things are you into? Are you like... You read, you into music. What other types of hobbies do you have?
I mean, recently, like I enjoy music and I enjoy dancing. I enjoy socializing, wine, but yeah, books, movies, video games. I think I'm a nerd at heart. So like I just love playing like the super nerdy games or reading like the fantasy novels. When I'm taught to get out of the house, man, I just love going to drinking some wine, talking to people, or like grooving to music.
Yeah. What's the last book you've read?
The Champion's Mind and The Mind Gym. I think I read both of those on my last trip. And I read them all the time. I think it's just like every season I finish that book. And I just recently got, and I feel like I had to grab it. It's the Carry Water. It's a Chop Wood Carry Water. And then there's the book I recently got, Relentless, Kobe Bryant.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I got to start those books. But yeah, that's my inspirational, trying to train the brain.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we all need things like that. I went through a phase where whenever I would go to the gym and work out, I didn't even listen to music. I was always listening to books or podcasts. And it's weird because my background is music. I played in bands. That's how I found my way to podcasting. It's funny how life works out that way sometimes, isn't it?
I mean, I do both of those, right? I feel like the podcasts with the audiobooks teach me what to think, and then the music motivates those thoughts, right?
Yes. That is a perfect way of putting it, man. Because like when I'm on a treadmill, I'm listening to the podcasts or the books. But when I'm lifting, it's on, man. I'm listening to some music.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree, man. Music is life. It keeps me motivated.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. So what's next for Drew Dober? What's on the horizon? Are you able or at liberty to talk about it right now?
Oh, of course. Are we talking about a fight career?
Yeah, fight-wise.
So currently rehabbing a knee injury. Right. So I'm taking like a little mandatory time off, but I'm looking at starting to train again in September for a potential fight in December. Now, people are asking me like, who do I want next or all that stuff. And at this point, like, I don't even care. Like the dude has 2 eyes, 2 arms, put him in the cage in front of me. And, my goal is to have quantity instead of quality. So come 2022, I'm trying to get 4 to 5 fights in that year. And make a strong run for that title. And the best way to do it is just by the numbers.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any other exploits outside of the UFC and outside of fighting that you're starting to pursue?
Yeah, I'm putting in some roots in Colorado. I'm getting married in 12 days. And then I close on my second house Wednesday.
Oh, man.
Yeah, in like 2 days. Yeah, 48 hours.
Wow. Congratulations on the nuptials and congratulations on the second home. That's awesome, bro.
Just investing in a wonderful woman and a great house. And, hopefully by 2022, we might start a family. So like, these are the things I'm working on outside of getting punched in the mouth.
Just make sure she's not the one doing the punching.
I mean, if I don't do the dishes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is her take on all of this?
Oh man, yeah, she just enjoys the ride as much as I do, man. She's such an exciting and positive person. And so when it comes to my fighting, she helps me in like maintaining that positivity and that fun. I tell you, like, I stopped trying and I'm having fun. And man, sometimes, some days, it still feels like a career. And so I come home and she just reminds me of why I do it. And like, she's like, remember, this is your hobby and this is what you enjoy to do. And she goes, try to have fun with it again. So like, she's very positive and very supportive in not just my accomplishments, but my emotions as well. And she experienced her first weight cut last fight. So, man, it just very successful on that, too. Just super supportive.
I don't want to go down this like really, really deep rabbit hole, but yours and my upbringing is not too different from one another. And I think one of the goals in life is to, you say you're going to start a family, hopefully in the next year, is to give your family the life that a little less challenging life than the one that you had.
Yeah, I think about as a parent, it's like, yeah, I definitely want to give, my family the opportunities that I didn't have, but I also want to give them a little bit of struggle. You don't want to raise that little spoiled brat. And so my thought is like, I have the ability, but I probably shouldn't do it every time.
Right. It's amazing because I think that's kind of what makes us outliers is, we have a different sense of purpose, a different sense of drive, and we have an even deeper sense of gratitude to those that have supported us and those that act as our cheerleaders.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's like, I think it builds like, gratitude. And we're grateful for the things that we have. And, if I'm going to be honest, this house that I close on, it's going to be the very first house that I've ever lived in. I've only lived in like apartments my entire life. So it's like, man, so I'm very grateful for these opportunities, but my children are going to be growing up in this house. And so they don't know that apartment life. And so you gotta give them some struggle in some ways.
You got to send a brother a text whenever you have that housewarming party.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I'll just pop on by. I'll shoot you my address. You don't need a time.
That's awesome. You can grill up the brisket. I'll cook up some ribs. We'll just do it barbecue Midwest style, man.
I mean, you just spoke to my soul just there.
Tell you what, that's what every fight night, and we live for these fight nights, but we always grill up some ribs in the pit barrel, cook some cornbread. We eat like heathens. It's the best and the worst every time.
And that is Nebraska. That's the love of Nebraska right there. Man,
but I tell you what, brother, I tell you what, I'll pass up. The one thing that doesn't make me Nebraskan is I will pass up 3 Husker games to catch one UFC fight.
I mean, I support you in that. At heart, we all like that combat. We like the conflict. We like the blood and guts. That's what. And yeah, so I get a ton of support from Nebraska, because they're not squeamish, man. They love the blood. They love the excitement, man. Like I said, Nebraska makes some great fighters. But
yes.
I'm going to take it back a little bit. That is one thing I'm disappointed about Colorado is they don't have good barbecue. And so, God, you got to make it yourself here. But in Nebraska, you're surrounded by good.
Right. My best friend from high school, he lives in Denver. And he says there's a place in Colorado Springs that has the best barbecue around. I got to get the name of the place. And if I do, I'll text it to you.
Definitely. I mean, I've still yet to find a decent spot here. But Colorado Springs, it does sound like the place, or maybe up north, like Greeley, on your way to Nebraska. I feel like the barbecue should get better.
Drew, man, this has been freaking awesome. Thank you for doing the show. I appreciate you, man. And let's stay in touch.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you want to do this, as long as we don't have technical difficulties, I'd love to chat with you.
How great is that guy? It is always an amazing thing to get to interview people that you respect as much as I respect Drew Dober. It doesn't hurt the fact that he comes from Omaha, Nebraska, a place that's near and dear to my own heart. Big props to Bobby from Elevation Fight Team for helping arrange that. Elevation Fight Team is based out of Denver, Colorado, and we will be having more of their fighters on our show very soon. Make sure you give a like, follow, and subscribe to Drew Dober and Elevation Fight Team on all forms of social media. And while you're there, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, or what have you, give a like to Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. If you get a few seconds, please go to the Apple Podcast app and give us a 5-star review and leave a few kind words. This has been Caught on the Mic with Michael Clark. I'm Michael Clark. Until next time, thank you.